Good afternoon, everyone. Can you all see me, hear me, and see the screen I'm sharing? Great, thank you very much. So thank you again for taking your time to join our information session this afternoon. My name is Alan. I am the Associate Dean of the School of Business at HKUST. I've been working at UST for the last 12 years. I teach in the accounting department. And today I'm very happy to talk about the programs that we have and also students to share some information with you to help you decide whether HKUST is the right school for you. In addition to me, besides me, we also have two current students of our business school who will be sharing with you their background and also their experiences at HKUST Business School. After my sharing, then it will be Jovy, who is a local non-JUPAS student and class of 2023. And we also have Reuben Ting, who is an international non-JUPAS student and class of 2022. So in terms of the flow that we have here, we are going to start to talk about some of the placement data. I'm sure that after last year, many of you have on your mind the job opportunities that you will have after you graduate from our business school. So being the most important thing for some of the students here, we will start with that data. Next, we'll talk about some of the networks of exchange partners that we have all over the world and the supports that we have here at SBM, at School of Business and Management, to help you in terms of achieving what you can achieve and finding a job that you would like in the future. And lastly, before I pass over to our current students to share their experiences here at UST, I will talk a little bit about our programs in terms of the most attractive feature and also some of the upgrades of the program in the last year or two that you may not be aware of. All right, so I'm going to start with the introduction right now in terms of the placement data. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the chat, or we also have a dedicated Q&A session at the end of this sharing so that you can ask any questions you have. Now, this is the most updated data for our class of 2020, who graduated from HKUST last year. In terms of the placements, around 1/3 of our students work in banking and finance industry. And within these students, some of them work in very well-known financial institutions in the world, such as asset managers like BlackRock, information providers like Bloomberg, investment banks, top-tier investment banks such as Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley, and some of them work as private banking executive at HSBC, etc. Now, for the next biggest group, we have 24%, so a quarter of our students who work in administration and management. And these include some of the best known consulting companies such as BCG and also consulting analysts in Accenture and also executive trainee and management trainees in all of the other large corporations in Hong Kong and also outside of Hong Kong. After that, our next biggest group is working in the accounting, auditing, and taxation group. And these include some of the big four accounting firms that you may be aware of, such as PricewaterhouseCoopers, etc. And then we also have accounting executives and also the management accountants that work in large corporations. And after that, we have 10% of our students that work as marketing and sales, around 7% of our students that work in system analysis and computer programming, and the remaining 7% work in other jobs. So these are for our students who choose to employ immediately after their undergraduate program, which accounts for about 89% of our graduates. Other than these group of students, we also have other than this group of students, we also have 11% of our students that go overseas and go to other institutions to further their studies. I'll give you more data on that a little bit later. Now, in terms of the job opportunities for our graduates, around over half of our graduates have 2 or more job offers on hand immediately after they graduate. About 60% get their job offer before they graduate. About 80% get their first offer before they graduate or within 1 month after graduation. The top 10 employers of our business school graduates include the big four accounting firms of PricewaterhouseCoopers, Deloitte Touche, Ernst & Young, and KPMG, some of the local banks such as HSBC, Standard Chartered, some of the banks with Chinese background, such as Bank of China. And we also have top tier investment banks and other banks worldwide, such as JP Morgan Chase, Citigroup, and also UBS. So these are the top 10 employers in terms of hiring our graduates. Now, as I talked about before, about 11% of our students go for further studies afterwards. And they go to some of the top tier universities worldwide. So in America, they go to Columbia University, Cornell University, Johns Hopkins, MIT, NYU, Princeton, Yale. And in Europe, they go to Bocconi, HEC Paris, King's College in London, London School of Economics, and University of Oxford. And within Asia, they go to some of the top tier universities in Asia as well. And some of them stay in HKUST for their further studies. In fact, of the faculties that we have here, we have quite a few of our own alumni. For example, our associate dean in terms of research is also a graduate of our information system department. And our economics professors, one of them is also graduated from our own undergrad program. Now, one of the reasons that our graduates are able to find good jobs and also find very good graduate program to enroll in is because of the world-class faculty that we have here at HKUST. Now, we are ranked as one of the top tier universities in the world, and especially within young university, we are ranked as the #1 in the world from 2018 to 2020. One of the most important criteria for university ranking is research. So we recruit from some of the best universities over the world. About all of our faculties graduate with a PhD degree from these universities. Over 150 faculties that we have, less than half of them are from China and Hong Kong. About 15% coming from the United States, about 10% coming from Canada, and about 7% coming from Europe, about 9% coming from India, and some of them from the rest of the world. Now, in terms of specific disciplines ranking, we are ranked in top 20 or top 30 in the world in accounting and finance, in business and management studies, in economics and econometrics, and also we rank around the top in the world in information system and also statistics and operation research. Now, for the exchange partners that we have, you'll be happy to know that if you join UST, you will have a chance to go study overboard for either 1 or 2 semesters. And when you're studying in these universities that you will see on this PPT over here, you'll be paying HKUST tuition, but enjoying a much more expensive education in terms of the tuitions that they charge over there. So for example, if you are going to study on an exchange for 1 semester in NYU, you will only be paying HKUST tuition for that. Now, of our exchange partners, about 1/3 of them, so 53 partners, are in North and Latin America. Around 52 partners are in Europe. And we also have 33 partners in Asia and Oceanic. And we are choosing partners, we are choosing quality over quantity. So we don't just take any university that approach us to try to establish an exchange partner. We look at their ranking, we look at their reputation, we look at their job opportunities, etc. Over 80% of our business school students join these study abroad programs. Okay. Lastly, if you are considering internships opportunities, almost all of our undergrad students find internships. 94% of them find internships during their undergrad study here at HKUST. Now, part of the reason is because Hong Kong is an extremely attractive place in the world in terms of finding jobs in the financial institutions, in the financial sectors. Almost all the large bank and asset managers that you can think of have their branch in Hong Kong. It's one of the most exciting places to be in the world. And Hong Kong, in just 2 days ago, was ranked as the #3 in the world in terms of financial center, immediately behind New York and London. And trust me when I say this, because I live in New York, I work in New York before. Hong Kong is a much more interesting city and much more appropriate for Asians to live in than New York. And lastly, I'm going to give you a little bit more background about our student center curriculum and new program update before I pass it to our students to share their experiences here at HKUST. Now, first, in terms of admissions, the large scheme, in terms of admissions, we have two routes, what we call a hybrid admission model. About 2/3 of our students are admitted through the school-based admission, which means that they are admitted to the business school without a specific major. So these are the students that will take classes during the first year around all the disciplines in the business school: accounting, finance, management, economics, operation system, etc. And then figure out where they're interested in and then select their major through the major selection exercises. We also have around 1/3 of our students that come in with a specific major. So if you're sure that you like accounting, for example, who wouldn't like accounting, right? Then you can choose accounting as your major when you get in. Now, of course, if you come into the university, you take some accounting classes, you find it too boring, don't worry about it. You can join the same major selection exercises as a school-based admission students and choose your major afterwards. Now, in terms of some of the new upgrades that we have in the programs, I will give you after the next slide. So these are some of the majors that we currently offer to our students. In addition to the traditional majors, business majors such as the economics, finance, information system, global business, etc., we also have some jointly offered majors such as sustainable and green finance, which is the newest major that we have at HKUST. We just launched it this year. And by the way, if you are interested, we have an information session that begins at 5. I strongly encourage you to join this information session. We also have RMBI, Risk Management and Business Intelligence, that we collaborate with 2 other schools, School of Science and School of Engineering. We also have collaboration with schools of science in biotech and businesses and mathematics and economics. 2 other updates that I want to give you. One of them is the extended major. So in addition to the traditional accounting and finance and these business school majors here, you can also obtain an extended major. Now we currently have 2 choices of extended major. One of them is artificial intelligence. The other one is digital media and creative arts. So these are like minor programs that allow you to dive into details about AI and digital media. And in the end, in addition to taking classes in computer science and also in social science department, you would also be asked to complete a project in which you will be applying the AI knowledge that you learn with the major that you are in. So for example, you could apply AI in marketing if your major is in marketing, or you could apply AI in accounting if your major is in accounting, etc. And lastly, we often update our programs. And 2 of the most recent upgrades, one of them I already introduced, is the Bachelor of Science in Sustainable and Green Finance, which we collaborate with the School of IPO with the environmental division here. And I will leave that for further introduction by the faculty and the director of that program at 5 o'clock. The other one that we have is what we call a 4+1 pathway of BSc. So if you're a student of our RMBI program, Risk Management and Business Intelligence program, and during the last year of your study, you could actually join our MSc program and start taking classes in our MSc program, specifically the MSc in FinTech program. So you'll be paying your undergrad tuition and taking classes in our MSc classes, in our MSc program here. So you'll be saving up to 40% of the tuition compared to the usual MSc program here that we have at HKUST. And the courses is going to include some of the hottest topics in FinTech, such as AI, corporate financing, blockchains, data analysis, etc., etc., etc. Now, without further ado, I am going to pass the floor to our student helpers who will introduce you their experiences here at HKUST. So we're going to start with Jovy first. Jovy, are you ready?
Yes.
All right. Jovy, you can take over. I'm going to start sharing the slides. And I will see you again if you join and stay with the non-JUPAS and direct entry programs admissions.
Thank you. So So hello, everybody. My name is Jovy, and I'm very happy to share with you all my experience as a UST Business School student. So a little bit about my background. So I'm a Hong Kong local, born and raised in Hong Kong, and I attended Hip Young School here in Hong Kong from Form 1 to Form 4. Then afterwards, I decided to study abroad in the UK, and I completed my GCE A-levels at the Royal High School in Bath. So now I'm a year 3 marketing and management student with a minor in entrepreneurship. So I'll talk a little bit about the minor of entrepreneurship as a relatively new minor offered to students at the business school, the School of Engineering, and the School of Science. So this minor is offered to only for a few years, but it's a very interesting minor as in this minor we get to do a lot of experiential learning and a lot of crossovers with different universities and external parties. So in this minor, we'll take courses that equips us with the foundational skills to become an entrepreneur, and we'll hear sharings from startup owners and successful entrepreneurs, which a lot of them are UST alumni as well. So for example, in this semester, I joined Entrepreneurship 101 course, and I got to work with students from another university in Hong Kong, Lingnan University, and also Singaporean university students. And together we worked as a team to create an online startup business. So, which is quite different from other business courses that I'm taking. And in this process, I've learned how to really build up a company from the get-go, and there's a lot of mentorship offered from the UST Business School as well. So it is a really interesting major that that's offered by UST. So next, I'll talk a little bit about my experience taking on the corporate projects offered by the business school. So the corporate project is a program offered by the business school with a lot of different companies here in Hong Kong. For example, P&G, Hang Seng Bank, and Nike, etc. And I joined this program as a first-year student, and I joined with the 4 other team members, which are varying from different years and from different majors across the business school. And I got a lot of exposure to the food and dining industry because this program was in collaboration with a UST alumni started startup, and it's a brand called Sensory Zero, and it operates 5 restaurants all across Hong Kong. And in this program, I got to apply a lot of knowledge that I learned in class and use it in real life as we worked as consultants for this company. And throughout this 6-month process, we really got to see how the operations of a restaurant and what the owner and founder envisioned for his restaurant. And one main takeaway that I got from this experience is that the UST alumni network is really strong, and a lot of UST alumni are really happy to share their experience and share different opportunities with current UST students, as I've learned from the founder of Sensory Zero, Alvin, as well. And it has been a very rewarding experience for me and one of the highlights of my university career. So next, I'll talk a little bit about my internships experience. So I think in UST, taking on internships is a really common and very encouraged practice. And we do get a lot of internship experience, both referred from the different professors or the career center. And UST do have a lot of great career support. So for example, one of my first internships that I got was at Mayer Brown, which which is one of the biggest law firms in the world. And this internships I discovered through the UST Korea site as well. And I also worked at DDB for the past summer, which is one of the 4 largest advertising agencies. And this was also an internship that was referred to me by a UST professor. And throughout that experience, I got to really see what my major is about. I got to see marketing in real life, and I got to see production of advertisements from ideation to really the filming and all the production aspects. So I had a really great summer doing that internship. And I also joined a business consultancy, which was founded by 2 UST alumni, and which was also referred to me by another UST student. And through that management consultancy, I got to work with insurance companies and also a beauty brand company owned by the LVMH group, and generally gave me a lot of exposure to the consultancy industry, and which led me to my current position as well, which is working as a part-time assistant at Boston Consulting Group. So I think that overall my experience at UST really equipped me with the exposure to different industries in business and a lot of different opportunities. And I think as a student at UST, I really have gotten a great deal of exposure, and really felt like the alumni network and the career center and the career support at UST has really helped me find out the things that I'm interested in and that the world has to offer. So that has been my experience at UST so far. And now I'll pass the time on to Reuben to talk about his experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Jovy. Maybe you can, I'm going to share screen now. Hello, everybody. My name is Reuben. First of all, Alan already talked. Thank you all for coming over on a Saturday. You know, I'm sure you guys can be doing a lot of other things, but thank you for listening to me share. My name is Reuben. I'm a year 4, my final year student. I major in global business and economics with a minor in humanities. So my background is a little bit unique in the sense that I'm Malaysian, and I studied in Singapore for about 4 years, after which I took a Singapore A-levels. After that, I decided to take a 1-year gap year. I worked in a property development firm, and just 4 years ago, I decided to join HKUST with a full scholarship. So that's my background in a nutshell. And I'm thinking, a lot of students here, you are very anxious. You don't really know what you want, because I was there 4 years ago. I didn't really know what I want to study or what I want to learn. And back then, there were a lot of things going on around me. You know, there was a lot of things like Bloomberg. When I picked up the Bloomberg magazine, I didn't know what was going on inside that magazine. I didn't know if I wanted to do marketing or I wanted to do banking, or, you know, I wanted to become an accountant. My dad was a lawyer, so he said, okay, you should just become an accountant. So it was really a journey of discovery for me throughout my 4 years of university. And later, when you look at my internship experience, you can sort of gauge how it's like. But ever since I entered UST, you are basically in your first year, regardless if you have a major or not. When you come in, you are exposed to almost all disciplines of businesses and life skills. And what do I mean by businesses is that you learn things like accounting, finance, management, etc., etc. And why I think it's so important is because, you know, when you look at a company, for instance, like GameStop, everyone is talking about GameStop. You know, everyone is saying it's overvalued or stuff like that. And how do you determine if it's overvalued? So you need to know your accounting, you need to know your finance, and that's where you learn the basis of it. At the same time, you know, there are such big brands like, let's say, Coca-Cola, IKEA. Coca-Cola is literally just a sweetener drink. Why is it so popular? Why is everybody drinking it? I am a Coca-Cola addict. And then you learn that through marketing and management. So that is the foundation you build in your year 1. I personally major in this course called Global Business, and there is a whole different section on understanding what global business is. But these are some of the 5 courses that I took thus far. I think one of the best few courses that I took is basically one is doing business in Asia. I really enjoyed that course. For my final presentation, I did. IKEA has a fantastic marketing scheme all around the world. Can that marketing scheme work in India, IKEA in India? We learned about information gap in emerging markets, in frontier markets. We learned about sustainable finance. We learned about Didi and Uber. What is the difference? What is the difference in strategy, and why one is successful in China and why one isn't? And we also learned, I also learned about value investing. So basically you all follow like the stock market. If you do, then you see like, oh, some companies are very undervalued now, it's so cheap, we should just buy it. But what determines its price, and what strategies you can use to buy? Right now I'm doing my final year project. It's a capstone project. It's basically an integration of all the knowledge that I've learned in the past 4 years. I'm doing a real life case for this company called, this conglomerate called P&G. And they have this Australian product that they actually want to launch in Hong Kong. And the question is Hong Kong the right market to launch this product? So you see, it's a little bit of marketing, a little bit of finance, a little bit of operations. It's an integration of all the knowledge. And I think what's so great about UST is that since you learn this in your year 1 and year 2, you basically are forced to integrate all this knowledge together. Yep, that's about the learning stuff. And here comes the fun part, overseas exposure. So it's not global business, it's not a global school if you don't have overseas exposure, right? So in my first year, I went over to Brazil. I represented Hong Kong to compete in L'Oreal Brandstorm right there in Paris. I did a venture pitching in Beijing. So a venture pitching is basically if a company, they need money, they're very small and they need money, they need to raise funds, then you go for venture pitching. So that's that. And we raised about 10,000, I forgot, about 100,000 US dollars for some sustainable companies, yes. I also went over back to Kuala Lumpur for this United Nations event. And just last year, 2 years ago, before COVID hit, my final trip was to Spain and Guangzhou. Spain was a global business study trip. I went with my cohort mates and the years below me. And Guangzhou was a short trip organized by the Global Business Program. So these are overseas exposure, and you must be thinking, oh, COVID, how does this affect you? I dare say that the impact would be very minimal, because starting next semester, we are already having our exchange. I'll personally be going to Copenhagen Business School. So that's very fun. And most of you must be thinking in terms of your jobs and future prospects. It's quite scary to be thinking about what you want to do for the rest of your life, or at least like half of your life, what kind of jobs you want to do. And I think for the past 4 years, HKUST has provided me with a very safe space to explore what I wanted to do. I started off working in L'Oreal, so that's makeup, skincare, stuff like that. And then after that, I went over to corporate finance. So I did like a financial analyst kind of role. And then after that, I went into private equity and venture capital. So that's like buying into small firms, and then the last one was CBRE. So it's basically real estate. And the most recent one was I'll be doing HSBC investment banking. So my full-time job is HSBC investment banking. So you see, it's basically a growth of various stages. And in between, I did a few things as well, like a little bit of startup, a little bit of like education. So it's an exploration. And I think what makes the program, the school so unique is that they offer you this opportunity to explore yourself. So it's not too scary and you don't jump into the workforce immediately. So hopefully this short presentation gives you a gauge on what you can expect and what you can hope to learn through UST. Yes, and we now open the floor for questions, right, Jessica?
Well, let's pass the floor to Alan to talk about
Ah,
degree
okay.
admission overview first.
Okay, Alan, back to you then.
Okay, I think that, sorry. Jessica, are we going to separate it into the breakout rooms first?
You should have a few slides to go before we separate to the breakout rooms.
I do.
No worries. In this case, then, okay.
This one?
Yep. Or we can definitely do it in the breakout room.
Yes, let's do it in the breakout room.
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah. Okay, then students, we understand that we all have students from different backgrounds, different admission routes. So now we will have the parallel session. For the international qualification students, please stay in this session. I will be in the JUPAS session. When you click the breakout room at the bottom in that menu bar, you will see there is a breakout room called JUPAS. If you are holding HKDSE qualification, please go to that room. If there are any applicants, you are studying the associate degree or the higher diploma or any sub-degree in Hong Kong, then please join the breakout room post-secondary. I got a question in the chat box. Students with the university qualifications, please stay in this main session. Ellen and our admission officer, Winnie, will be here to address your question. Okay, so for JUPAS candidates, I'll see you in the breakout room.
Thank you. For those of you who are local JUPAS students or JUPAS qualifications, and those of you who are studying associate degree or higher diplomas, please join the respective breakout room. Over here, we are only going to talk about international qualifications such as IB or some of the national qualification from other jurisdictions. All right, in the interest of time and also trying to save some time for you guys to ask questions later on in the Q&A session, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So again, for those of you who are, so the information that we talk about here, some of the information apply only to international qualifications. Again, if you're JUPAS students, please go ahead and join the JUPAS breakout room. If you are post-secondary students, students who are studying associate degree and higher diploma here in Hong Kong, please join those breakout rooms as well. Okay, now our school is actually incredibly diversified, and as I mentioned in the faculties, over 150 faculties that we have coming from 25 different countries all over the world, and we have about 3,700 UG students here in HKUST. Our largest intake was the intake in 2021, where we have almost 1,000 students, and these students coming from more than 40 geographic origins, including Latin America, Europe, Asia, other schools in Asia, North America, etc., etc. And if you look at the 2021 intake students, they represent 21 different geographic origins, including Australia, Belarus, Cambodia, Germany, Indonesia, Japan, Malaysia, Mexico, Nepal, Pakistan, Philippines, Russian Federation, Singapore, Taiwan, Turkey, United States, and also Vietnam. Now, in terms of diversity, it's not just the citizenship of the students, but also their qualifications. About half of our students are coming with IB diplomas, about 10% of our students with Canadian qualifications, 16% with British qualifications like GCSE exams, about 15% with American, so SAT, AP, etc. And then some of the other largest group are Indonesia and Indian and also Taiwan's qualifications. We have admission scholarships for almost all the qualifications that I just mentioned with IB, with GCEAL, and some of the scholarships are one-off. Some of the scholarships are actually renewable. Some of the scholarships are partial or even fully waived tuition fees. Now, beyond the academic admission scholarships, we also have scholarship for non-academic talents. And for example, we have scholarship for student athletes, and we have also scholarships for other type of talents that you may have. Now, in terms of admission expectation of some of the major qualifications, I see some of the questions already raised in the chat. For example, for IB diploma, we have our qualification requires about 34 points or more, including bonus points. Now, this is for the 2/3 of our students that come in through our school admission route. For our program-based admission, so the remaining 1/3 of the students, the admission score requirement starts at 35 for IB diploma students. For GCEA, our requirement is AAB or above in 3 subjects, and AAA or above for the individual programs. For SAT, for the school-based, our score requirement is 1,320 for or above in the reasoning class plus 3 SAT 2 or AP subjects. Now, in terms of subject requirements, our individual programs here, you can see this information on our website as well. So I'm not going to spend too much time reading the information, but depending on which major you are in, there may be additional requirements, such as higher level math or calculus AB or BC for the AP students, etc., etc. So take a look at what qualification you have, which program you are interested in, go to the website and try to find out about those informations. One of the most important thing I'm going to talk about here is this slide that our application actually starts on Monday, which means that whatever you do, takeaway is that please go ahead and apply as early as possible. Now, as Reuben mentioned, you're going to learn a lot of financial concepts here at HKUST. One of them is derivatives, financial derivatives. This is an option for you. Go ahead and apply first. You may not decide to come to UST, but at least you have a choice to come to UST if you apply to us. If you do not apply to us, you do not have this option. This option is pretty cheap for you, but it may come off and come with a big payoff in the future. So our admission, again, our admission starts on September 27th, which means this coming Monday. And our admissions is on a rolling basis. We'll start to assess and also interview students from November onwards. Our early round admission deadline is November 19th. Our main round application deadline is January 14th. Now, some of our programs require interviews such as global business, quantitative finance, risk management and business intelligence, and sustainable and green finance. Some of the other programs, the shortlisted applicants will be invited to complete a videotape interview, but outstanding applicants with other profiles may be offered without the interviews. Now, with that, let's go ahead and start our start our Q&A session now. Winnie, are you available right now?
Yes, I'm here.
Great. All right. So do we want to start with some of the questions that we have already received during the chat? And let me read out the question here. I think one of the questions is, what is the IB requirement for green finance?
Okay. Because green finance is a new program, we expect that the requirements that we would like to set will be similar to the finance program or the quantitative finance program. So it depends on whether they are from the IB qualification. If it's IB qualification, we will expect at least an IB overall of 38, I would say, including a higher level math subject or a standard level math, but in analysis and approaches, but not in application and interpretation. Yeah.
So right here, right? This is the one that this is subject requirement.
Exactly.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to go by the sequence here. And if I miss anything, please feel free to unmute yourself and just raise the questions. Okay. Can I apply to admission this Monday if the result of my final exam would only be available by next May?
Yeah, you should apply
You should
as
apply.
early as you can,
Yes.
because our offer will be conditional offer. We don't have to look at your final scores at this point of time, but we'll look at your internal school scores, your overall profile, as well as the predicted grades to decide whether you will be invited for interview. Yeah.
And I think one of the question earlier, which was just repeated in the chat over here, is that what if the predicted score underestimated the final score? If the final score is ended up being higher, how do they actually get into the program? I think there's an appeal process. Is that the one that?
Yes, there's an appeal process. So as soon as you get your final result and you get a qualified result to apply for us, do let us know by uploading your final result to our system. And it's better if you also send us an email to our BM admit account, bmadmit@ust.hk, so that we know your cases, and then we can go back to your profile, and then we'll reassess and invite you for interview if you meet the requirement of our programs. That's after the release of your result in July, probably. Yeah.
So are you okay with me picking the questions here? I'll just pick some questions that I think apply to more than one student here. So one of the question is, what if I have more than one qualification? I'm basically making the question more general. What if I have more than one qualification? How do I know which one is better to use to apply?
Usually we look at a full sets of qualifications. Of course, you choose the one that you feel more confident in. I understand that you follow a particular curriculum in your high school. If you're following the US system, probably you have SAT and AP qualifications. But meanwhile, if you also take other qualifications, you have to design which one to be your core qualifications. And on our application form, we will ask you which are your core qualifications for us to assess on. But if you are taking HKDSE, you should apply via our JUPAS system instead of the direct admission system. You can apply both ways. You have to choose which one you want to apply for, either JUPAS or direct admission.
One of the students asked about alternative assessment of English exams other than TOEFL and IELTS, specifically a Duolingo test. I think that we have listed all the ones that we accept on our website, and that is a university policy. It's not a school policy. So we will accept what the university policy allow us to accept. So you take a look at the information out there. And let me also see. For non-JUPAS application, do we apply directly through the school website?
The university website, yes. Non-JUPAS. We have a joint.ust.hk website where you can do your online application there.
What is the difference between early round and main round? And I guess that's a timing difference. You will receive an offer earlier.
Yes, if you applied in the early round, we will probably give you an offer decision by late December or early January. So you get your offer and you don't have to worry about anything. You just decide on whether you accept it. And also because of some of the program-based admission, some of the programs has a smaller admission size. So if you get our offer earlier, you don't have to worry about the quota. Yeah.
Is it possible to get into GBUS program as a university transfer?
Yes, why not? If you're a good student and you applied and we assess your overall profile and think that you are suitable students, we will also consider university transfer students. Yes. But for university transfer cases, we'll usually look at your university performance, the programs you are in, and all the year one, at least the year one performance there as well. Yeah.
Actually, we just got a case, right? We have a case that we process with a university transfer, right?
Yes.
So how do the application process look like for international students? Do we have to write a personal statement? If yes, is there a limit on that? I believe our website should have that information. So you should be able to find that information on our website. Will there always be an interview before the student is given an offer in the early round?
As mentioned by Alan, some of the students who are remarkable, excellent in the predicted grade as well as the overall profile, they may get our offer without an interview. But for a field of our programs, an interview is a must, like global business and quantitative finance, definitely. Risk management and sustainable and green finance, definitely you have to go through the interview process. Having said that, majority of applicants will be invited for an interview, an online interview. If you are invited, make sure that you do attend the interview and submit the interview to us.
Okay. I think this information is probably not on our website. So I will pick this question first. If I get an offer, how long do I have to decide
Whether to
accept or not? Yes.
Usually 3 weeks acceptance period. Yeah. You have to pay a deposit and then indicate that you accept our offer within 3 weeks from the issuance of the offer.
Can non-JUPAS applicants apply to both 2 schools of HKUST?
Yes, you can apply for up to 2 programs. 2 choices. If you are interested in applying for programs from 2 schools, you can, in theory, but there's no guarantee that the school that you apply for as a second choice will consider your case first. They can make the decision to consider all the first choice applicants first before they look at the second choice ones.
Do you consider, so one of the question is probably more specific, that his school issued 2 predicted scores, one in September, one in December. If the second one is better than the first one, should I submit the application to include that information?
Of course, you can always upload new information to the system for our information. When we see that you have a better predictive score that make you eligible for any interviews or consideration, we will consider.
How many person per place? And I think that if I rephrase the question, is that for every offer or admission or place that we offer, how many applicants we have? And I believe that probably varies with the specific programs that we have here. So it's, and also it also varies with how good the COVID situation is and things like that. So it's very difficult for us to provide that information here. Do we have to translate document into Cantonese? I'm sure the answer is no. Everything official at HKUST is in English, and also there are no written Cantonese. Cantonese is a dialect, it's not a language. If you are not predicting a good IB score currently, should I still apply even though you will be appealed next year when the final result come out? I will say yes, because if you apply right now, you can appeal. If you do not apply right now, you cannot appeal next year when
and
your
the
final
application
score come
will
out to be better.
Yes, and the application period will close after March. Yes.
That's right. And other than the IB and also some of the national qualification that we have here, do we have other qualifications such as the Canadian qualification? Do we list that on the admission website?
All the qualifications are listed on the joint.
Like the minimum score requirement, do we also list those in website as well?
We did not list the school-specific minimum there, but if they have inquiries, they can always email us and we can provide some reference figures for them.
Good. Thank you very much. And if I get offer from multiple Hong Kong universities, can I accept all of them? Well, the answer is yes, you can, but you're going to have to pay the deposits to all of them, because there are no central system that we use here. It's a little bit like the universities in the US, if that answers your question. How can we prepare for the admission interviews?
No, actually, you don't have to prepare. I think the interview tells the interviewers who you are, what your aspiration is, whether you're a suitable candidate, and sometimes you can really prepare it at the very last minute. You show who you are during the interview in your response to the questions or tasks that are given to you.
Right.
Yeah.
And I should have to say, I do have to say that it's choosing a university. I mean, being who you are right now as a student interested in getting into the university, you might think that this is more of a one way that we are selecting you. And I can assure you that this is not. There are no universally better or best university. They are only the most suitable university for you. So it's a two-way selection. Don't try too hard. Does applying a specific program reduce the acceptance rate compared to applying with no specific major? I would say yes, because if you look at school-based admission, they do have lower requirements than program-based admission. So if you want to maximize your chance, then at least pick school-based admission as one of the choice. Am I correct? Or that we automatically consider them?
Sorry, I missed
for the school. Sorry, for the school-based admission. If they pick a program-based admission, do we automatically consider them for school-based admission?
No, you have to indicate in your applications.
That's right.
You opt for an alternative program or school-based option before we can
Right.
consider you. Yes.
Okay. Should students be vaccinated against coronavirus? Yes, you should be, because well, we have COVID vaccine requirement for the student who want to be physically on campus. So yes. Do AP exam grant credits for courses? I think he's talking about credit transfer policy.
Yes, yes, I
So
believe
yes,
so.
yes. How many recommendation letters are required?
I'm not sure whether it's at least one. I would say from your school. I think one at least from your high school.
Okay. What is global businesses IB math requirement? I don't think it has a very specific one.
We don't
global business.
specify math as a requirement. We don't specify math requirement for global business, but we do specify some math requirement for the Bachelor of Science of the more quantitative oriented programs.
Jason, your question about the average IB score for conditional offer for the sustainable and green finance program, I would recommend that you stay until 5 o'clock and ask the director directly. But this is the first year that we started the program, so there are no admission score histories. Can we apply to both school-based and program-based? Yes, you can. You can apply both. Yes. The Russian vaccine, that's a good question. I don't know. If it's under WHO list, it should be. If it's not, then it's not. For application to BSc Quant Finance, is further math in GCE a must?
Yeah, I would say so. I would say so, because most of the applicants provide us with the further math qualifications. Yeah.
Yes, and I have to say that if you're not, then you will have a tough time surviving that program, because that program is pretty math heavy.
Do you have any questions for the students? They are still here about their learning experience as well.
Do I have any questions for the students?
I mean the audience.
Oh, yes, yes.
Or they can also share some of their experience applying to HKUST. I understand that both of them came from GCA level or IAL qualification, right? How
Maybe
do you
guys want to take, how about we leave the remaining time to some of the tips from our successful applicants?
Exactly.
Reuben, you want to start first, or Jovy?
In terms of interview, so for me, I went through 2 rounds of interviews. First round was like a computer virtual screen. You just talk into it, and you don't really have to prepare for that. Like as Winnie mentioned, it's not too difficult. I don't know if I can give like the questions. I still sort of remember it. And the second one was specifically for the program of global business. So they'll ask you your motivations, why are you choosing this program? So be extremely clear on why you are interested in that program, regardless of what program you choose. And you don't have to go too deep into it, but explain the rationale and how it would help you succeed in your mission. Yeah, so that's the tip I have.
So I think for me, I didn't choose a program for my year 1 study. So I did only the virtual interview. And I remember one interesting question, which I think I can share now, because I think this year is going to be different. So I think my question was, how do you sell iced tea in the winter? So I thought it was a really intriguing question. And I think interview questions for the business school is a way for you to just be yourself and show how you're thinking logically. So I'll say, like, there isn't really a preparation process, but just to format your ideas clearly, and just maybe try a few interview questions beforehand. Yeah.
And I understand that both of you got a lot of different offers from overseas university as well as local Hong Kong universities. How do you make your choice, and why did you come to HKUST back then?
I mean, for me, I obviously got some Singaporean universities, some UK ones, some US ones. I chose Hong Kong because I wanted to do finance, and you know, and one of the main reason is also because I really like Hong Kong food. So every morning, even until today, I still go for the typical Hong Kong cha chan tang with my iced milk tea. So it's more. I chose Hong Kong because of that, but no regrets though, because I'm working in finance now, and I really enjoy the fast pace, the competitiveness of it, and also it's just such a great place to learn. So yeah, that's why I chose Hong Kong.
Yeah, I agree with Reuben as well. So I got accepted to a few UK universities, including LSE, UCL, and all that. But I chose UST because first it's closer to home, and also of all the internship opportunities that I would get here that I wouldn't get in the UK. So I think also in terms of Hong Kong, which is a financial hub in Asia. So I think we get a lot of exposure and opportunities regarding the, either the Greater Bay Area, China, or just general exposure to business. So I think that is what is unique about Hong Kong, and in UST, there's a great alumni network that will help us get either jobs, internships, or just a opportunity to connect. So I think that is one of the reasons why I chose UST.
I don't know, other participants interested in looking at my room? Like I'm staying in the dorm right now. I don't know if you guys are interested, because most of you probably be staying in the dorm, right? You guys are here.
Oh, yes, please.
Oh yes, okay. Yeah, so this is my room. We have, it's a double room over here. And we have a sink right over there, and double bed. And we have a desk. So if you look at my roommate's desk over here. So I work, you can even bring your own non-stop and stuff like that over here. So this is the Hong Kong Jockey Club. It's one of the off-campus housing, and we have off and on-campus housing as well. Yeah, so most of you will probably be staying in this very nice hall, hopefully.
Linda, you have 20 seconds to raise your question, because we really need to end it at 5 to join the other call.
Okay, sorry. So I was wondering for undergrads, is it are the dorms the same as third and fourth years, or no?
There are no specific dorms for which year's students, so they are all
okay.
shared the same. Mingle.
Okay.
Mingle.
Nice.
Actually, that's the first time that I see a student's dorm. Thank you very much for sharing. I believe we have the time is up here, and we do need to allow the students, and also we do need to join other sessions. And for those of you who raise questions, we will save the chat and we will get back to you. Or, right, Winnie? Okay, yes. If that's the case, then thank you very much. And again, well, thank you for coming to us. And if you have more questions, please send them through email, and we will reply to those emails. Thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you here at HKUST.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.